So good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in this lovely world we live in. Bit of a change of camera angle just to see how it goes, and because I'm decorating around the corner so it's a bit rubbish behind me. So today we're going to look at quizzes. So a continuation of the last video that I created. Normally I wait a little bit of time to put the videos out, or that's what I have been doing, but this time I thought, let's get this video done and dusted so we've got both of them together quite quickly. Then if anyone bumps into the first video, they can watch the second, and likewise the other way around. So the first video we did was looking at item banks. So if you haven't seen that one already, go view item banks and then catch up with this one in a minute. So shall we get to it? Let's get to quizzes and all the loveliness that quizzes can bring. So here we are back in Canvas. Just going to go into a course that we put those item banks into before. Now we've got on my two links. So if they're not in there, you don't see item banks or quizzes along this row. In this video, item banks is less important. It's quizzes you want to be able to see. So if you don't see it, go to settings and then go navigation. And if you don't see quizzes in this area here, it will be down in there. And what you want to do is just go to it and enable it. And then when you do that, just hit save at the bottom and you'll see it appear in here. And that'll also be enabled for students as well. So now we're into the quizzes page and you'll see that none are in here. Now, when I create quizzes, you'll see the lines come down per quiz. And they'll be, whatever you've done a quiz for, whether it be for a formative or summative, they'll sit in this area. So what we're looking to do is we're looking to create a quiz. So we hit this button on the top here that says quiz, and then we get to call it a name, right? And if you viewed the item banks video, what you'll see in that one is you'll see that I generated the questions for the item banks within ChatGPT. So let's nip over to ChatGPT just quickly to gain the assignment name for that. You could just write in there, but we might as well dip into ChatGPT while we're there, right? So back over in ChatGPT, what you can see is I asked it to create me an item bank of questions for Herb Greenthumb's Canvas LMS course. It should contain 10 questions on horticulture and botany at level 4. And it created me 10 questions of different types of multiple choice questions and open-ended short answer questions, true or false ones, and fill in the blanks. And then I did it again for level 5. Then what I did after the video had finished, I'd put all of those into 2 item banks because this video will demonstrate how to deal with multiple item banks. So what we're going to do is let's just grab horticulture and botany level 4 quiz, where we'll post the assignment name. So I'm just going to paste that in there. And let's assume that maybe what we've done is we've done that question bank, that one we've done in the last video, and it's going to be week 1, right? So let's just give it a bit of a head start. Now, one little thing you can do to make these look pretty cool is to just throw emojis at them. So all I've done is I've just right clicked around about just in front of the H for horticulture, and I'm going to pick, and you can see I've already found a plant. Just makes it a little bit nicer. Now the idea behind building quizzes like this is that what we can do when we get round to say week 12, when we want to consolidate all of those weekly quizzes together, so what we can do, we can look to consolidate the quizzes maybe around week 11 before maybe a final test or a final quiz, where we put all the item banks into a quiz and maybe just say, okay, I want to pick certain amounts on. We're going to do that one now. So this quiz is going to just add in all of the questions from one item bank. And we know there's 10 in there. And I'm going to assign 1 point for each question, right? So this is a new quiz. So if you ever get asked when you go to click quizzes in there, whether you want a classic quiz or a new quiz, my advice, always choose new quizzes. Classic quizzes doesn't get used as much these days, but maybe they come through from an imported course, or there's an imported question set from some website somewhere, and that's where you'll generally find the classic ones. But so my advice, use new quizzes, and what the difference with those is you can use item banks with them. If you go to classic quizzes, you can't use item banks, so that's a difference, so bear that in mind, right? Item banks only works with new quizzes. So let's just have a look. We can display grade as percentage, complete, incomplete, points, letter, or GPA scales. Let's leave it as points. We're going to stick this one in an assignment group if it's in there, and then we can look to assign it to certain people. So we could differentiate this quiz by giving a subset of students, assign it to certain students in there and give them different dates and times when it's available from and until. And as soon as you take out everyone and start putting in Billy, Bob and Jane in there, then you get another set at the bottom here where you can add a second set of due dates and available dates and etc. Now we're going to go through to build, and this is where we deal with the item banks. So in the build window now, what we get is we get the title that we know we've set it to with our little lovely emoji in there, and we get to add instructions in here as well. So I'm just going to paste in some bits that ChatGPT gave me, and you would expand on that, right? So you would give them a rundown of what the quiz would entail, potentially where to get maybe guidance from. So let's just put a little bit of text in there just to demonstrate what you can put in there. So next, what you see is a couple of options really. One that says done, one that is a little plus sign at the bottom here, and then you've got item banks and outcomes. So let's just quickly explore the little circular plus sign button at the bottom, and this allows you to put in questions not unlike the item bank questions. They're exactly the same. So this is another option you can do when you build your quizzes. Rather than building item banks first, you can build the questions in your quiz and then put them all into an item bank later. Personally, I think that's the longer way to do it. I think if you want to shed a little bit of time, do it in item banks first and then put it into your quiz. But there really isn't anything stopping you doing it this way. This is perfectly fine doing it this way. You've just got another step or two each time you build a question this way to put it into an item bank if you wanted to. You don't even need to build a new quiz. I say new quiz, remember? You don't even need to build a new quiz with item banks. But my recommendation for usability later on down the line and building more dynamic quizzes, this is by far the best option to use. Build them in item banks first, then build your quizzes. So yes, we can do it that way. I'm not going to. We're going to now go into item bank. This is just a little slider now where you get a view of all the item banks you have access to, whether it be in read-only mode, so view, or edit mode. So we're going to go shared with me, just like we did in the item banks, and we're just going to search for it. Now I put all of Herb Green Thumb's quizzes, and I built 2 10-questioned item banks here. So I did that just between the 2 videos, right? So what we need to do is we need to select, because this one's just going to be a level 4, so we're just going to select that quiz and we're going to just put all of them in all together. So if I push this button, it's going to fire all 10 into this quiz. If I want to cherry pick particular questions, so maybe I want to do that differentiated quiz for a subset of 3 of my students or 5, I can pick and choose the ones that maybe I think they're struggling on, just to give them more support or more resource, right? So at this stage, I'm just going to go all, and it puts it in the bottom here. So let's just close the slider out of the way. So clicking settings up in the top left, what we get is we get a few sliders where we can set various things. We can shuffle questions, we can shuffle answers, we can have it one at a time. This one brings out an interesting little tick box in that you can allow backtracking or not. Now, if you allow backtracking, a student can view your quiz one question at a time, record them down, go all the way to the end, backtrack all the way to the beginning again, and then Google it and put the correct answers in. So if you take that one off because you're doing one at a time, they can't come backwards. Now, depends on your organisation, I guess, on how they deal with questions. Remember, if you've got a piece of paper of a quiz in front of you, you can backtrack to your heart's content, but more than likely, it is closed book. If it is closed book or open book, that may be where allow backtracking is allowed or not. Leave it to you to decide that. Let's just put it back on for a minute. I'm not going to worry about student access codes. That is just if you wanted to tighten up some permissions, you just gave it actually offline access code to your quiz, and you know it's them, hopefully, that are doing that quiz. This is where time limit comes into it, so you get to add in hours and minutes. Let's say this quiz is 20 minutes. Now, I could have just written 20 minutes in there, but I went up one at a time. We've got allow calculator if that's a sort of quiz. We can allow multiple attempts. So if this is a formative assessment, then this is probably wise for you to set it. That's what you want to do. And you can then keep highest, average, latest, first, whatever you need to do. Allow unlimited attempts, or maybe just 3 attempts at it before you then intervene and go, okay, let's give them a different type of quiz or more tuition perhaps. And then you've got this one at the bottom here. Let's put that back on. And then you've got hide results from students, where you show the questions, you show their responses, you show points possible or points awarded. So we can just leave it like that, and that's cool. We can just deal with that. So really, if we go return now, back into the quiz, this quiz is nicely set up with 10 questions, 10 points for the whole quiz. All we would need to do at this point is just publish it, and this would just roll and roll and roll, because the settings are built for unlimited amount of attempts, which is what I would probably prefer if it was a formative assessment. So the next quiz we'll build is another horticulture and botany quiz. Maybe it's week 1 of level 5 and we want to bring in some questions from the previous year into this one. So it's pretty much exactly the same as what you've done with this one, except we just tweak it a little bit, because maybe at this point we want to keep 10 points for the quiz and 10 questions. So we've just got to adjust how many get fired into the quiz. So what we do is we just build the quiz first, right? Click the quiz button again, paste in your title. Maybe we're going level 5 and the students don't need to know that the question's from level 4 and 5, right? So let's just leave that alone. Actually, no, let's add in week 1. So we're going to go level 5 this time. Again, I'm going to leave all this alone. Now let's just show you what happens with the due date. So let's fire in a due date of, say, next week. And it's available right from now. And it's going to be available until the world stops spinning. Forever and ever that's going. So let's go build. Again, we have a blank quiz. You can add instructions in there. So what we're doing, we're ignoring this option because I don't want to build. We've already got our item banks. I'm going to go item banks. I'm going to go shared with me. I'm going to do a search. what was it? MOD001234. If you took anything away from the last video, it's labeling your item banks in a way that you can find them. Trust me, it just does, saves you a world of pain. So let's add in all these. Add all of them. Let's go back into item banks at the very top here. We're going to go to the level 5 one. We're going to add all those in as well. So let's just close the slider out of the way. So do we want this to be a 10 questioned quiz and give out 10 points? At the minute, we've got a 20 questioned quiz. We don't want that. We want to narrow these down now. So this is where a nice little trick comes in. It's not a trick, it's a feature. So if we click on each one of these, just before I click on each one of these, we've got, because what you notice is when you add them in a particular order, it always puts them in that way round. And we added in level 4 first and level 5, and it put them that way around. So you can edit them and change them around if you want them to be, maybe in this instance you want them to be harder and easier. But remember, settings can mix all that up, so maybe it doesn't matter too much. So let's go level 4. And what we're going to do is we're going to have randomly select questions, and we're going to say we want 5, and we're going to assign 1 point to each of them. That's done. And we'll do the same for this one here as well. Randomly select 5, 1 point, done. I'm going to go now to my settings. I'm going to add shuffle, one at a time. I'm going to have a time limit again of 20 minutes. Let's put that back on, 20 minutes. And I'm going to allow them to see their results. I'm going to allow multiple attempts. I'm going to show the questions, and I'm going to show their responses. This time, I'm going to show some feedback, because it may well be in the item bank I put feedback in there. You don't know how to add feedback into an item bank or a quiz in an item bank, go watch the other video and I'll show you. And then we can go return, and we are done again. So we've got a level 4 and we've got a level 5. And this is where you see the due date, look. So you see it there, they know there's 10 points in there. They go in, when they're ready, they hit start, and they get hit with those questions, those random 5 out of each bank. 10 questions, done, rinse and repeat. Go round and round and round and round the circle. Create quizzes to your heart's content there now. So there you go, there's quizzes. Dead easy really. So if you followed the videos through, the take from it hopefully is, my advice, build item banks first with your quizzes. Spend time in there. Then the easy bit really is the quiz part where you're putting them together. And once you do that, if you set them in a particular way, your students can go round and round and round in circles in those, finding more and more different questions, and you'll get the eager ones wanting to get more questions out of it. You'll end up building more quizzes with more questions. You can use them for summative, use them for formative reasons. You can get files back on them. You can get open-ended, as you've seen. You can do all really cool stuff in them. So if you want to sort of box a bit clever, they're cool. They're really good tools within Canvas to use. So I hope you enjoyed the 2 videos, a short mini series, shall we say. But what should we do for the next video? I need to get my thinking cap on now. I'm sure there's something I can find in Canvas that will, and giving you some sound knowledge of good practice within Canvas. All that leaves me to say is thanks for watching, like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed it. Please come again.